Hello, true crimers, and welcome to Only Murders and the Missing, a podcast presented by UQ Criminal. Join us as we explore the fascinating world of true crime. In each episode, we'll take a deep dive into the story, unraveling the mystery and uncovering the cases that still haunt us. Through our podcast, we will shed light on the victims, honoring their memories and seeking justice on their behalf. Beyond storytelling, we are advocates for the missing and the murdered, lending our voices to those who can no longer speak for themselves. So, grab your headphones and prepare to join our mission. Are you ready? Welcome to Only Murders and the Missing. Episode 15. The Mysterious Hanging Death of Tanner Ward. A missing father is found hanging with no feet, and questions still surround his death. Trenton, Missouri. On the night of June 7th, 2017, 19-year-old Tanner Ward gave his beautiful daughter a kiss goodbye and left to visit his friend Jeremiah. His mother asked if he planned on being home for dinner. "I'm only gonna be gone 30 minutes. Go ahead and fix a piece for me," Tanner replied. But he never made it home to eat the meal she cooked for him. Tanner Ward was a great father and had a lot to live for. His sister, Kelsey Ward, says her brother loved his fiancée and would do anything for her. His teenage years had been difficult, but Tanner's life was headed in a new and positive direction. Things were starting to look up as he was recently engaged to his fiancée Megan. Together, they shared a daughter they named Sophia. To his family, suicide just didn't seem to fit the picture. Tanner had recently befriended Jeremiah, so he was not well known by the Ward family. Kelsey, who was familiar with everyone in Trenton, had never even heard of him before. It was unusual for her brother not to return home when he said he would. Tanner vanished on the night of June 7th after leaving his family home to visit his new friend. Kelsey spent the following day retracing her brother's steps. She found herself knocking on Jeremiah's door, but there was no answer. Deciding to follow her instincts, she let herself into the apartment as the door had been left unlocked. Inside, she found the place a complete mess. The back door was left wide open. There was a large hole in the wall, and the furniture was overturned as if there had been a violent struggle. Then, she noticed it. Tanner's baseball cap lying in the middle of the room. Kelsey immediately went to the police station, carrying the cap with her, and told them her brother was missing. A missing person report was filed, and the department assured her they would look into it. However, 2 weeks later, nothing had changed, and there was no more information on the whereabouts of Tanner Ward. By this time, Tanner's family knew there was something seriously wrong. He would never have chosen to walk out of his daughter Sophia's life. Kelsey began hanging homemade flyers around the area, and that's when she ran into Jeremiah. He was wearing Tanner's shirt. The same shirt Tanner was last seen wearing when he vanished on June 7th. Kelsey confronted him by asking him why he was wearing her brother's shirt. She also noticed strange markings that were what looked to her like burn holes from a cigarette. Jeremiah claimed they were only stains. When Kelsey threatened to call the police, he willingly offered to go to the station with her. Trenton Police Chief Thomas Wright says they looked into Jeremiah and his possible connection to the case extensively. He had noticed the anomalies on the shirt as well, but could not determine definitively if they were blood. A voice stress test was conducted on Jeremiah, and the results were convincing enough for law enforcement to search property in Edinburgh belonging to Jeremiah's dad. With the help of cadaver dogs, a burn pit on the property was examined, but only animal bones were found inside. A 6-foot by 10-foot forensic dig was conducted as well, but nothing more was found. It looked as if Tanner's case was growing cold. Tanner did not own a cell phone. Therefore, police were unable to trace his digital footprint that evening. They began following up on every lead related to the case, but they all came to a dead end. It was beginning to look like Tanner had been involved in foul play. 6 long months passed. On a bitterly cold December day, 2 childhood friends of Tanner's were walking to school together when they heard a creaking noise coming from above. As they looked up, they made a devastating and shocking discovery. Hanging from a high branch of a tree was the decomposing body of Tanner Ward. His fingers were mummified and his feet were missing. The tree was only 3 blocks away from Tanner's family home. The only evidence found at the scene was a small pile of clothing on the ground at the base of the tree, including pants, shoes, and a single sock. The condition of the clothing suggested that they had been in that location for quite some time. An autopsy was conducted on the body. Using dental records, a positive identification was made. The initial cause of death was ruled a suicide, as there were no injuries found other than on the neck from hanging by a rope. This ruling meant that Jeremiah was no longer considered a suspect. Rumors started to fly in the town of Trenton. Text messages circulated and Kelsey says they hinted at the possibility of homicide. The messages painted a picture of Tanner being tortured for months before he was murdered and stored in a freezer. Lisa Ward, Tanner's mother, is haunted by one particular text that claims her son was beaten with a baseball bat, hung up in a cellar, and died. Many believe he was taken to his final location at a later date and hung up in the tree by his killer or killers, possibly to stage a suicide. Chief Wright doesn't agree, however. He believes the community started spreading rumors and false information without any evidence to back it up. Kelsey noted that there were no obvious signs of wildlife processing his body, implying that the body had not been hanging from that tree for the entire 6 months. Was he stored somewhere else for all that time? Construction workers developing a site close to where the body was found did not believe Tanner was hung up in that tree until the day he was discovered. The storage building they used on the job was only 25 feet away. They never smelled any foul odor over the hot summer. Even Tanner's childhood friends said he had walked that path several times with his girlfriend. He is certain he would have seen the body when passing through previously. A friend of Kelsey's also claims she had played with her son underneath the tree during that same 6-month period and never saw anything unusual. The Ward family does not believe that Tanner would ever commit suicide. There were no signs before his disappearance that would indicate a desire to take his own life. The fact that he told his mother he would be back for dinner proved that he had every intention of returning home that day. "My brother was a happy person," Kelsey said. "He loved his baby girl, his girlfriend, all of us. He was making plans for his future." Ward's story has been featured on an episode of Crime Watch Daily. Viewers are baffled by the fact that the feet were absent from the body, but Chief Wright insists that would have happened naturally by the suspension of a body out in the elements. But what about his mummified fingers? A body will begin the mummification process when there is a lack of heat or moisture in the environment. Missouri is known to have a very humid climate with rainstorms throughout the summer months. Tanner went missing in June, therefore his body would have been exposed to the moisture in the air and would not have had a chance to mummify. Crime Watch Daily asked their own expert, police surgeon Dr. Bill Smock, to examine the evidence and give his opinion on Tanner's case. According to Dr. Smock, he determined the body had been hanging from the tree for a significant length of time due to elongation in the neck caused by gravity pulling on the weight of the body. Dr. Smock's contrary opinion was that in a humid environment, mummification can occur within 2 to 3 months, which he believes is the explanation for why Tanner's fingers were mummified, and that when a body is mummified, it loses its internal organs and, along with it, potential evidence. He also states that since people generally tend to look straight ahead or downwards when walking, combined with the foliage of the fall obscuring their vision of the body, no one would likely have seen him. Law enforcement concluded that Tanner had been hanging from the tree since his disappearance. However, they do not provide their own explanation for why no one had never seen him there before. Tanner was starting to use drugs heavily, said Chief Wright. He was taking whatever kind of drugs he could get his hands on. And these are words from friends and family. Ward had a run-in with police not long before he went missing. He had been a drug user previously, and in 2016, he and his brother Tyler entered a house armed due to contention over a drug deal. No one was injured. This dispute involved Jeremiah and his neighbor, Stephanie Miller. Tanner was charged with a felony and put on probation. According to a text received by Ward's mother, this is what led to retaliation. Miller's daughter was one of the victims held hostage in the incident. According to Kelsey, rumors say Tanner was only supposed to be roughed up and not killed, but that he fought back and things got out of hand. Miller has never been named a suspect in this case. She is adamant that she had nothing to do with Tanner's death. On the 18th of April, 2018, the Trenton Police Department announced that the autopsy was complete and Ward's death had officially been ruled a suicide. Detectives are waiting for more evidence before they will continue looking into a murder theory. The autopsy had been conducted by a forensics firm in Kansas City, Kansas, and confirmed that Ward was responsible for his own death by hanging. The official report concludes that the scene indicated self-suspension and there was no evidence on the bark of the tree to support rubbing of the cord as it's being hoisted by another person. The Ward family is left tortured and grieving, not knowing exactly what fate their loved one endured before he died. Tanner's daughter is now left to grow up without the father who adored her immensely. There are currently no persons of interest being considered in this case. Will we ever find answers regarding Tanner Ward's suspicious death? His family firmly believes he would never take his own life, while investigators have a different perspective. Regardless of these differing views, Tanner deserves to have his case resolved. If you have any information on the Tanner Ward case, contact the Trenton Police Department at 660-359-5557. Are you addicted to true crime? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this case. To connect with me and read more true crime stories, go to unquestionablycriminal.com, and I'll see you in the next episode.